wali come to a mutually agreed. Of course, now by Wednesday. All right, guys, welcome to Edutainment for us for a short video. Then we rush to live saga and end our day. So there is this question about EPSTEIN files. You're seeing it circulating a lot. I don't know whether you've done some research, but it's important for us to know about this matter. So that you hear about it, you have to get to answer some question. All right. Yeah, so what is this that is known as EPSTEIN files? You know, it's very common currently. You look at most social media platforms, you're going to see EPSTEIN files for so many people and so many things. So first, EPSTEIN files refer to court documents, flight logs, contact books, testimonials linked to the late financier Jeffrey Epstein, who was accused of running a global sex trafficking network. These records have had to catch up with so many countries, not because governments were involved, but because Epstein and his associates actually traveled widely and had international contacts. So why is the name of Kenya popping up, guys? Because somebody will be talking about this and you will be looking like you don't understand what they're talking about, but you need to know about it. So Kenya is popping up because of global travel and connections. So Epstein moved in elite international circles, and his network included business people, academics, models, and social figures from different parts of the world. When countries like Kenya mention, it is usually because someone linked to Epstein has ties to that country, right? And a person listed had worked, lived, or traveled in Kenya, possibly. Or an institution or contact had an indirect international connection. This does not mean that crimes happen in Kenya, but somebody who is related to Epstein either traveled, lived, or worked in Kenya, or has ties with Kenya, or actually Epstein himself had links with Kenya. Which one? Anybody who knows this, you can drop a comment so far, because this is a matter that I know people are going to talk about, and even those who don't know will pretend like they know. The second reason why we would actually ask Kenya appear in EPSTEIN, Diana Mihela saying this, hello, welcome. Welcome to Edutainment for Us. I hope you subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for appearing. Now, what is the second reason why Kenya would be falling in these files? The names do not equal guilt, okay? Many names in Epstein documents appear because of social contact, professional meetings, or being in the same address book or events, okay? Diana, you're asking whether I speak Romanian. I don't even have an idea how the Romanians speak. Maybe I'll be researching on that. I do not know how they speak, all right? Yeah, so you actually can appear in the list of Epstein because many names in Epstein documents appear because of social contact, professional meetings, or being in the same address book or event, okay? So courts, journalists have repetitively stressed that, that being mentioned does not necessarily mean that someone committed a crime. Only a small number of individuals have faced proven legal consequences. So relax. The third reason as to why Kenya would be mentioned in Epstein records is because of media amplification or online rumors. So on social media, the topic is very much simplified and exaggerated sometimes for clickbait or whatever reason. So when Kenya appears in a document or commentary, online users may jump to conclusion without context, okay? And this fuels rumors that spread faster than verified facts. Now, let's look at the fourth reason as to why Kenya would be appearing there. No official case linking Kenya as a state Of course, there is no evidence that Kenyan government or Kenyan institution were involved in Epstein's crimes. And any reference is not a direct one with an individual. No, it's not national. So in short, Kenya is mentioned only because Epstein's network was international, all right? Not because the country was part of his crimes, the sexual trafficking aspects. The files reflect how far his social and professional circles reached, not where wrongdoing took place, okay? So I want just to play some clip today that somebody very popular in Kenyan social media did, and that's why I began by making you understand that when you're talking about there is an origin, there is a genesis of all this. So let's look at this Mwafrika on Ikonini podcast. I try to elucidate into this. So let's listen to him.
We've got a lot of questions being asked because this guy had been CEO wa IEBC for a long time. He was still like eligible for a second term because ukiwa IEBC CEO unabaki umeran for 2 terms, but somehow he ended up in quotes resigning. So wacha tucheki vile hii story ilikuwa sasa inakuwa reported and the questions around it vile zilikuwa answered.
In its first event after the surprise exit of the Commission's Chief Executive Officer Marjan Hussein Marjan, the Commission looked into the heavens after the fresh turbulence as IBC Chairperson Erastus Ethekon moved in to allay fears and speculation over the unceremonious departure of its CEO.
What I communicated yesterday is the correct position. That we've had discussions and we arrived at a mutually agreeable separation in the interest of the country.
Yes.
So Maskeo, like wali come to a mutually agreeable decision in the interest of the country. And how is that in the interest of the country? This is one thing lazima nipatie Ethekon credit. The fact that the whole opposition were there up in arms complaining about Marjan and us on the referee. You see, if you're a referee, you have to make sure that the people who are playing feel like the game to a certain level is fair. And kuna vile wasa opposition walikuwa na feel kama Marjan iko compromised. And it gets interesting. Why? They talked about Smartmatic and of course stories za Kamago. And somehow to a certain level this whole piece inaonyesha ni kama Marjan aliresign juu ya Smartmatic. But tuendelee.
Ethekon adding that the decision was made to avoid any legal and timeline challenges ahead of next year's general polls, where Marjan was expected to leave in March 2027.
So there is consideration of the time factor, the time within which it will take for us also to get.
Utakuwa mbali sana kwa wanafunzi kutembea.
So try to imagine the president was came from this region for 24 years. He was a dictator. It's only dictators that can bring development. And the same place, watu wana land inje. Apart from watu land inje, the same, a lot of starvation stories from Baringo. And this guy was president for 24 years. And people were ready to put their lives on the line hapo huko in Baringo to make sure that he remains president. If this is not the biggest form of negative ethnicity, I don't know what can be. Like he placed him as president for 24 years, a dictator who determined where all the money went. And this dictator made sure that all his friends were billionaires, but his whole did not even have enough schools to saying, fuck them kids, najua, wakwende kabisa. That's what you decide about the kids. Sindio? Okay.
Sisi tutachenga shule yetu hapa Lurumuru na tuwezi toka hapa na tutaka hapa mpaka milele.
Msimamizi wa misitu kaunti ya Baringo aidha alisema kuwa aliwasili
support yake haijakuwa dented ile kidogo. Why? It goes back to like what nimesema before. F them kids. Najua. Watoyo wakwende. Najua na EPSTEIN na kwa hizi files kuna page ilibaki imetolewa, ilikuwa inasemekana like alikuwa na mess na watoi. So hiyo page ilibaki imetolewa. Department of Justice walibaki wame pull down. But apart from that, of course, hii story yote imekuwa interesting because huyu mother anaitwa Bill Gates. Because kumbuka vile hizo files zilitolewa last week, one of the things that came out was Bill Gates alishika either kaswende ama I think kaswende ama kisonono gani bacterial, ile bacterial katikati hizo mbili, alafu alikuwa na need to take antibiotics, so alikuwa na try kufikiria vile anaweza slip antibiotics kwa nini Melinda Gates. So Melinda alienda paki inaitwa nini, akiwa interviewed and akabonga juu ya umse kupay the consequences. Najua like there needs to be a certain level of consequence from Bill Gates. Alafu sasa Bill Gates pia akabaki amejitetea on when was it, I think Melinda alikuwa interviewed on Tuesday, Bill Gates on Wednesday ama Monday na Tuesday. Wacha tusikie, but yeah, of course saizi wako divorced. Umadha alisha get half yake, saizi iko nana.
The emails in the files suggest that Bill Gates had additional affairs and that he tried to get medication to treat a sexually transmitted infection, and that he was going to give you the medicine without you knowing. His representative has said all of this is false. It is not on you to have to respond to the details of that alleged behavior, but I wonder what your question is.
Damn. Mother, kabla tuendelee na story, mother ilikuwa inasemekana that alikuwa sign a certain contract na Bill Gates. Hata wakiwa married, ile Bill Gates alikuwa allowed kwenda kulala, I think in quotes, na his university sweetheart. Like ilikuwa ni, I think it was once every month ama once every what. Aka mother jo, ndio kuna bilioni kwa bank jo. Bilioni ni pesa mingi, wasiochezaga jo. I think at some point Bill Gates was the richest man in the world. Bilioni ni pesa mingi jo. Okay, nilikuwa nampenda kitambo. Sasa ndio tuishi hii soft life. Wacha mimi niende nipokee kitu hard. Okay. Haikutokea vizuri.
When you read these news articles with these details. Sad. Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? And again, I'm able to take my own sadness and look at those young girls and say, my God, how did that happen to those girls, right? And so for me, it's just sadness for, you know, I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad.
Damn. Sikia tu. Mother hata kutrai kutetea Iraya. Kuzira ina ka weakness yake imekuwa ni story na kudinyana. Na chekent. Inakuwa very sad where you can reach that age and that level of success and still be a pervert somewhere. Ulena need kumes na watoi and all that nonsense. But Iraya ilijitetea. Zile za ovyo. Ndio za toa za ovyo zilikuwa. Mimi sikuwa na dinyana. Mimi niliingia hapo nikacheki EPSTEIN amepita hivyo kidinyana, lakini mimi kwanza EPSTEIN Johnny aje, mimi natafuta donations na the Gates Foundation, Melinda and Bill Foundation, natafuta donation.
All right. So if you want to know more details, you can actually check online, but it's a nasty. This is one of the nastiest story, but we need to know about it because these things are happening. You remember I did a reaction, I think it's over December, about the Saudi Arabia trafficking. And people are asking me names, questions, Godam, what are you doing? Why are you talking about this? Is it happening in Kenya? I was like, what the hell are you asking about? These are things that are nasty and they're happening all over the world. They don't need to happen. Actually, nobody deserves that kind of treatment that EPSTEIN made people go through. So any nation that relates in the definitions I've given you so far, somehow is being connected to EPSTEIN, and you'll still see a lot of people on social media coming out in that list. So guys, I've just made a clarification. Bye for now. Let me go to Life Saga, do some video and sleep. Goodbye.